Hello guys, today's video is a past paper walkthrough for the subject of information and communication technology. Um, this is for the code 0417/12. This is a paper 1 theory paper for May June 2023. This is for Cambridge. Hopefully this video has helped you all to understand how to answer some of these questions. This is mainly just a walkthrough. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Channel, it really helps a lot. And yeah, let's start with the video. Alright, so this is a 1 hour 30-minute paper. We have to read the instructions here. So they're asking us to answer all the questions and use a black or dark blue pen. By the way, it's really important that you guys use a black or dark blue pen, okay? Write your name, everything. The total mark for this paper is 80, okay? So let's start with the first question. The first question is, a book contains a barcode whose number is 503619309903. Take the most appropriate validation check to test the validity of the barcode. So out of all these points, between these 4 points of check digit, format check, range check, and spell check, to test the validity, since this is a numerical value, if you look closely, let's just zoom in, this is a numerical value. It's a list of data consisting of numerical data values. If you use a spell check, you're just mainly looking at the number of words or the number of letters that there are. If you use a range check, you're not going to be using a range check here. Format check, there's nothing to format since it is a numerical value. You're going to be using a check digit to make sure that all these numbers are there in that value. When we're checking that the book contains that barcode, we have to use a check digit to check that all these numbers are present. Okay? We're not changing the format of this. This is a numerical value already, so you don't need to change the format. You're not checking the range of this. So yeah, so it's going to be a check digit. Okay, next one. Identify the most appropriate hardware from the descriptions given. Non-volatile internal memory used to store the startup instructions. So non-volatile. Non-volatile is something that cannot be lost, whereas volatile can be lost. So in this case, since it's a non-volatile internal memory, we're going to be using a ROM here. And ROM stands for a read-only memory. So we're just going to write that full thing there. By the way, if you want to score those full points, you do have to write everything in your paper, okay? So I'm just going to set some things up. Hold on. And yeah. Alright, so it's going to be a read-only memory. A read-only memory. Read-only memory. Okay, this is a ROM. Okay. Next one, an internal component that provides the input and output of audio signals. So we have to think of an internal component that provides input and output of audio signals. That could be a sound card. Okay, you guys do have to know that it is a sound card. Okay, an internal component that is composed of the main memory, the control unit, and the arithmetic logic unit. I think this is part of the one human architecture, so you guys do need to revise that concepts. So in this case, it's just going to be a processor that you're going to be using, or a central processing unit, which is also known as a CPU. You can mention either one of those. You can mention a processor or a central processing unit in this case, okay? Next question. Teacher is producing a web page about the history of her school. She has been given some old hard copy photographs, which she will include on the web page. she has a digital camera and a scanner to use to convert the hard copy photographs into a digital format. Compare the use of a digital camera with a scanner in the scenario. Your answer must include similarities and differences. So this is only for 4 marks. And on top of that, they're asking us to compare between the use of a digital camera with a scanner in this case. If you look at the question carefully, she has been given all the hard copy photographs, right? Which she will be including on her webpage. So she can either use a digital camera or a scanner to convert those physical ones into digital form, which she can put in the webpage. So do read the question really carefully before you answer it. Okay, we have to find out the similarities and differences between the digital camera and the scanner. Which one is better to convert the physical copy of the photographs into digital format to be pasted into the web page, right? So since this is 4 marks, you can include at least maximum 3 points for similarities and 3 points for differences, just to be on the safe side. Okay, so what I'm going to write is that similarities. Okay, we're going to focus on the similarities. I'm just going to be highlighting this. Okay, this is going to be the similarities. Okay, let me just zoom in so that you guys can see it much more clearly. This is going to be your similarities. So similarities are that they both capture images and store digital data. These are some of the key points that you do have to remember. Okay, just learn this and apply this during your paper. Okay, they both capture images and they store digital data. Okay, and you can say that there's a creation of digital images, but since this thing covers up both points, you can write this. Okay, so this is 1 mark and this is the 2nd mark. Okay, now differences. Now this is really important that you know the differences. Okay, differences. I'm just going to be using a different highlighter to show you. Okay, the differences is that a digital camera is more portable. Many of you guys have used a digital camera, such as like your iPhone. It could be one format example of a digital camera, but you know, the separate digital cameras can be also used. Since the iPhone is also portable, digital camera is about roughly the same size, so you can mention that they're portable. A digital camera is more portable. Okay, it's more portable, and since you're taking photographs using a digital camera, the resolution is not it is good, but it's not much better than a scanner, because a scanner you can change the you can change the resolutions to a really high resolution that it scans the images. So we can mention that as one of the key differences between the resolutions of a digital camera taken and a scanner that's being used for a particular photograph, right? So you can mention that a scanner captures the image in more detail. Okay, now these are 4 marks, these are 4 points. You can mention anything from here from some of the key points in this similarities and differences. So other points that you can mention in differences are that scanners, in terms of like scanners, they don't have a keystone effect. You can also mention whereas like how digital cameras, they can only capture like the shadow of the image. However, you can take a photograph more faster with a digital camera. You can mention that digital camera has a faster data capture than a scanner. You can also mention that as one of the key differences in this question. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Next question is, a company uses an extranet. By the way, really careful. Extranet is not similar to an internet because they just do sound a little bit similar, but be really careful about that. Explain what is meant by an extranet. This is for 2 marks. So you can mention that an extranet is part of a company's intranet. Okay, of a company's intranet. The company gives permission. The company gives permission for customers and suppliers, right? For customers and suppliers to access it. So this is 2 marks, so 2 points. You can mention that an extranet is part of a company's intranet, and the company gives permission for customers and suppliers to access this extranet. Okay. You can also mention that it enables businesses to exchange like information over the internet in a secure way, or you can mention that an extranet requires credentials or like a username and password scenario to access it. Okay. So these are some of the additional points that you can write for what is meant by an extranet. Okay, so next question is describe the differences between the internet and an extranet. This is really important that you guys do know the differences. Many of you guys already do know what an internet is. It's a collection. So you can mention that an internet allows public access to information, so meaning it's for the mass public, whereas an extranet, right? An extranet, it only allows limited access. Okay, so that's 1 point. And you can also mention that an extranet, since this is used by companies, like we have described in the first question, it gives the companies give permissions for customers and suppliers to access it. So that means it's more restricted towards the company's permission levels, right? So you can mention that the extranet is more secure. Okay, it's more secure. That's because this is, like we said in the first question, it is part of the company's intranet. Okay. You can mention some other points for this differences between an internet and extranet. You can say that the internet is not owned by anybody, whereas the extranet is owned by a company. You can also mention that there's more information on the internet, so like that you can write. Okay. Next question. State which is most likely. Your answer must be different. Typing on a keyboard for long periods of time. You can mention repetitive. You can mention this point. Okay. Many of you guys have learned how to apply some of these concepts. Looking at a computer screen that can write this. Sitting with, you can mention this point. So these are the 3 points that you guys can mention for these 3 different types of scenarios. Okay, just do remember it, learn it, and then apply it in the paper. Okay. Next question. A company requires its employees to regularly change their login passwords for the company's computer systems. Passwords must be strong and cannot be reused. Explain 3 problems that may occur when the employees change their passwords regularly. So, this is a bit obvious. This question's for 6 marks, and this is 3 points, right? So you're going to write 2 points for each problem, okay? So first of all, you can say that the passwords could become similar. Okay, so that means the security, right? The security of the passwords the security of the passwords could be weakened. Okay, could be weakened. The next point that you can mention is that that passwords, right? Is that the passwords may be typed, because they're constantly changing their passwords, right? Passwords may be typed incorrectly. You can mention that as the password is like the previous one. It's like the previous one. What is the consequence? This could lead to login errors. Okay, this could lead to login errors. Now, the final point you're going to mention is that users, in order to remember their current passwords, it could lead to a system lockout. You can also write that it may be more difficult, because they have to constantly reuse new passwords. It may be more difficult to find a different password. Okay, to find a different password. So that means, again, the security of the passwords could be weakened again. All right, security of the passwords could be weakened. Okay, so these are some of the 3 points that you can write for the 6th marker. Okay, so next question. The company has a website which uses a digital certificate. Explain the purpose of the digital certificate. It's to ensure that the website is more trusted. Okay, it's more trusted, or authentic, or genuine. You can mention that. You can mention another point is that it verifies if the company owns the website. You can also mention that to share public key for encryption when communicating with the website. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next question. A digital certificate is attached to an email. State 3 items contained in a digital certificate. This is real important. You have to write. This is the company's name, or the owner's name. The owners are the company's public key. Let's just mention that. The company's public key, or the owner's public key. The date issued. Okay. You can also mention the expiry date, the company's digital signature, the sender's name, or the serial number. Okay, these are some other 3 items that you can also write. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Next question is that a student is creating a spreadsheet that includes a formula to check a number entered in a cell, which is between 2 values. The number is entered in cell A10, which is an integer. If the number is between the 2 values, then a message OK is displayed. Otherwise, error is displayed. The formula that the student has created is if and A10 greater than 1, A10 less than 32, OK, error. Data will be used to test the formula. Identify the 2 items of the extreme test data that the student should use, and give the reason why this data was chosen. So now the extreme test data would be, since this is A10 is greater than 1, the most extreme, it's not going to be 1, right? So that means what is a number greater than 1 would be 2. That would be one of the first extreme test data. Okay, that's the range. It's going to be 2. Okay. Then the other extreme test data, since A10 is less than 32, it cannot be 32. So it has to be a number less than 32. So it's 31. That is the other extreme test data. Okay. Remember, if they had put it as less than equivalent to, you could have used that certain value. Okay, in this case, it's just going to be 231, which is going to be the extreme test data in these cases. Okay, now what is the reason why? The reason is because to test the boundaries, okay, to test the boundaries of the formula, okay, to test the boundaries of the formula. You can also mention to test the comparisons are correct. That's another point you can give for a reason. Yeah, so let's move on to the next question. Next question is that the student has entered an item of abnormal test data. Explain why abnormal test data is used. Okay, 3 marks, 3 reasons. You can write to test data, to test that data outside the range. To test the data outside the range is not acceptable. Is not acceptable. You can also mention to test that the correct data type, format checks can be used, spell checks can be used, range checks can be used to check out whether this data type is correct. To test that the correct data type is entered. You can also mention to test that the error messages work. Okay, works. You can also mention to test that the errors are trapped correctly. Okay, so that's another point that you can mention. All right, let's move on to the next question. Next question: a teacher provides revision lessons during holidays. The teacher plans to use a web conferencing for the lessons. Explain what is meant by web conferencing. So this is, by the way, there in some of your textbooks. Hopefully you guys have read that. You can read information on this in the textbook. For these 3 points, you're just going to write what's meant by web conferencing. It would be it's a form of real-time online communication. Okay, real-time online communication. You can mention that there are multiple users or devices. You can mention or devices connected together. You can mention that connected together using the internet. Okay, using the internet. Remember, the internet is a source of medium to connect these hardware devices, right? Using the internet, and all users are on the same. All users see the same screen. It's like a Zoom call. When someone's putting a presentation there, everybody in that Zoom call can see that presentation in that Zoom call. So it's kind of like a close resemblance. Also, think web conferencing is just used for businesses and companies. More likely there. Okay, so all users see the same screen. Okay, you can also mention that the communication, by the way, this is really important. You can also mention, even though it's 3 marks, I'm just going to write this point here because it's really important. You can say that the communication is using video cameras. Okay, is using video cameras and microphones. Okay, just do write that point there just to score some of those points. Okay, using video cameras and microphones. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Evaluate the use of web conferencing in this scenario. So the scenario is the teacher is providing revision lessons. So that's one of the scenarios. The other scenarios could be in terms of business companies using this. So the use, since they asked you to evaluate the use of web conferencing in this scenario, you're going to be talking about the positives and negatives of using web conferencing in this scenario. Okay, you have to gain that full mark. Since it's 6 marks, you're going to write 3 points for the positives. Okay, for the positives or the advantages, you can write the advantages, okay, of using web conferencing and the disadvantages of using web conferencing. 3 points for each one. You should score that full 6 marks. Okay, so some of the advantages could be that the students The students save time. Okay, the students save time as they do not need to travel. When you're doing an online call, you don't need to travel physically, right? To meet that person in order to do the call. When you know that you're given the opportunity to do the call online, it saves up that travel cost, right? So you don't need to travel, and you can meet the person physically online itself. Okay, so you need to travel to school. Okay, it saves times as they do not need to travel physically to the campus, right? School. Students, again, in terms of cost, the students save the cost of traveling to the school. Save the cost of traveling to the school. Okay, so that's 2 points already. The third point is that the school actually saves money, right? The school saves costs. It's cheaper as it does not need to open or to run, right? To open in the holidays. You can also mention the other advantages, as the students and teachers can work from anywhere in the world, and it can be recorded also for students who missed the lesson. So that's a lot of advantages in using a web conferencing in this scenario. Now, some of the disadvantages, of course, people need to really have a strong internet for this to happen. Okay, some of the disadvantages would be the hardware. Okay, hardware or software, like for people who are really new to this, hardware and software could be expensive to be set up, but that's just an initial cost. You can mention that hardware software could be expensive. You can also mention that it requires a good, like I said, it requires a good, reliable internet connection in order for the web conferencing to work even. Then you can mention that it's, if the hardware, right? If the hardware breaks or loses connection and loses connection, right? And loss of connection, and there's a loss of connection. You can mention that, and there is a loss of connection, right? There is a loss of connection. Then the student cannot participate, right? Then the student cannot participate. So that's one of the disadvantages that participate. Okay, these are some of the disadvantages. Only students with the correct specialist devices can be able to access web conferencing. So do read that part in your textbooks so that you guys can understand it. Okay, this is for 3 marks for the advantages and 3 marks for the disadvantages. This should give you total 6 marks. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It should give you total 6 marks. All right, let's move on to the next question. The products in a warehouse contain either a barcode or a radio frequency identification tag. The data about each product is read electronically. Compare barcode readers and radio frequency identification tags. Okay, your answer should include similarities. Again, they want similarities and differences between this. So this is for a total 6 marks. You're going to write 3 points for similarities and 3 points for differences in order to score that full 6 marks. Okay, so you're going to write it like this. Okay, similarities. Okay, you're going to say that both readers, they scan the product code. That's obvious. They scan the product code. You can say that both readers use physically, right? Direct data entry. Okay, and both readers allow tracking of products. Okay, allow tracking of products. You can also mention that both readers are contactless, because you can scan them. So yeah, both readers are contactless. Now, some of the differences. 3 points for the differences that you're going to write here in this case is that the barcode, what we're going to write here is that the barcode readers, they only scan, right, one barcode at a time. You guys would have seen at shopping malls, right, that they scan like your shopping bags, or sorry, your shopping products one at a time. So that's like, you can speed it up using the other one, right? So barcode readers only scan one barcode at a time, whereas, radio frequency identification tags, right? These readers, radio frequency identification readers, they read multiple, right? Let me just zoom in. They read multiple tags at the same time. They read multiple tags at the same time. Okay? You can also mention, that the barcode readers, they really need to be close. The barcode readers need to be close to the barcode. If in case if the barcode is like stuck on the thing but it's a bit scratched, then that really is for barcode readers to work. So the next point you can mention is that barcode readers, they emit light, whereas radio frequency identification readers, they just use electromagnetic waves. So that's one of the final point that you can mention for one of the differences. Okay. Some other points that you can mention is that the radio frequency identification readers, they use near field technology, whereas you can also mention that barcode needs to be in the correct position. Like I said previously, is that if the barcode that image scan, right, is not pasted correctly, that could be really something that you really have to check whether the barcode really works. And on top of that, the barcode readers cannot be able to read damaged or scratched barcodes, whereas radio frequency identification tags can read data as long as the chip or tag is not severely damaged. Okay. On top of that, barcode readers might have read errors if the barcode is damaged, scratched, whereas radio frequency identification readers are more likely to read damaged or scratched tags. Okay, so these are some of the points I can write. 3 marks, 3 points for similarities, 3 points for differences. That should give you the total 6 marks. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Identify 2 other uses of radio frequency identification. You can use for race timing tracking, like race cars. You can use that for race timing tracking. You can also mention for library book tracking, to track the books, right? You can also use it for contactless credit or debit card payments. Passport cards. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Meta tags can be used in a web page. A meta tag can be used to define the viewport settings. Identify 3 other items that can be defined in meta tags. So this is a meta tag. So you can say that it is the name attributes that can be used to define that name attributes. You can mention the character set. Okay, the character set. You can mention the content attributes. Okay, these are for 3 marks. Next one. Meta tags are used in the HTML of web pages. State the section of the HTML which contains the meta tags. that would be the head element. Okay, the less than head, greater than head element. Okay. Next part. Next question is that some gaming systems use gesture-based user interfaces to operate a game. Describe what is meant by gesture-based user interface. So, you just need to apply some critical thinking skills here. This is going to be where the human body, right? Where a person's human body interacts with a device, like such as playing on the iPad, or playing on the game, or playing with the computer, playing with the joystick in order to access some of those data. You can mention that for some games. And you can also mention where the human gives a command to that system, where the human gives a command without using like how you use a joystick, right, to move like a particular type of software in that game, all right, icon in that game, without using like an icon in that particular game. So without using a keyboard, okay, without using a keyboard or a pointing device device. This is what you're gonna be writing for 2 marks. Okay. Next question. Describe the drawbacks of using gesture-based user interfaces in this way. So you have to only mention the drawbacks. Okay. Be careful. Read the question carefully. Okay. So this is one of the. I'm just gonna write this properly. Since they're physically using the items, it can cause this, right? You can mention that the user can unintentionally activate the device. Activate the device, right? It's like in shopping malls, as you walk through, the scanner type doors, which just open due to the motion of the gesture. Like if you place your hands near the open doors, which are electronically opened, but if someone passes by that automatically opens up. So that is one of the errors. Like users can unintentionally activate the device, so they're constantly using that much amount of power, right? By moving their arms and fingers, right? So that's your second point. You can mention that it's not accurate. It's not as accurate. Just gonna push that a little bit there. It's not as accurate as other interfaces. Okay. You can also mention that it could cause damage if it is in restricted space. You can also mention that there may be a limited number of gestures that can be used. You can also mention that you have to learn the gestures accurately, otherwise they may not be identified. So these are some of the 4 points that you can write to score these 4 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Yeah, 4 points to score these 4 marks. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question number 12. Movies can be stored on Blu-ray discs or an internal hard disk. Describe why Blu-ray discs are preferred to an internal hard disk for storing movies. So, you can mention that data cannot be erased. You can also mention that the Blu-ray discs are portable, right? They are portable. You can also mention that as it is on an external device, right? It does not take up internal storage. Okay, does not take up internal storage. You can mention that the hard disk is fixed in the computer. Okay, the hard disk is fixed in the computer. So these are some, again, 4 points that you can write to score those 4 marks. You can also mention that, you can have a large number of Blu-ray discs, therefore more storage. Okay, that's another point that you guys can mention. Okay, next question. Hard disks and Blu-ray discs are examples of backing storage. State 2 characteristics of backing storage. Backing storage is non-volatile, meaning it cannot be lost, and it means that it stores data permanently. Permanently. Okay, you can also mention that it's slower to access than internal memory. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Identify 2 other types of backing storage. You can mention magnetic tapes. Magnetic tapes are those classic types of storage. Magnetic tapes. You can also mention CDs. You can also mention DVDs. You can also mention DVD RAM, memory cards, pen drives, SSDs, solid state drives, I think. Yeah, cloud storage and flash memory. These are some other points that you guys can mention. You mentioned that DVDs and pen drives and cloud storage and all that. Okay, for 2 marks. Let's move on to the next question. Weather forecasters are using computer modeling. Explain why computer modeling is used to forecast the weather. 4 marks. You can mention that there is the large number, right? The large number of variables, right? The large number of variables, it makes it more difficult, right? It makes it more difficult for a human to forecast. Accurately. Okay? Accurately. That's the first point. And on top of that, it can predict long range weather trends, such as like global warming, right? Or climate change, global cooling. Global cooling. Next point, you can mention that there's a faster way. Actually, no need to mention about global warming, just mention about global cooling, okay? That's just for fun, actually. But in your exam, just write can predict long range weather trends. Just write that point there, okay? Just to be on the safe side. Faster way of producing weather patterns than using a human to decide, right? You can mention that more accurate results are produced. So this is, again, 1, 2, 3, 4 points to gain that full 4 marks. You can also mention that it gives residents an early warning of severe weather. You can also mention that it can deal with more complex calculations quicker. You can also mention, I think that those are some of the additional points that you guys can mention in that case. Next question. Data is collected by different types of sensors and then input to the computer model to be processed. Identify 2 sensors that could have been used to collect weather data. You can mention pressure sensors. You can mention temperature sensors. You can mention moisture or humidity sensors or wind speed sensors. Okay, just mention the pressure and temperature sensors. Next question is that the process data is then output. Identify 2 output devices that could be used. Monitor, it's a bit obvious. You're going to use a monitor to output some of those data. Monitor. and a printer. You can print out some of those data. You can use a plotter to plot a graph, all that. That's an additional point that you can write. So in this case, you just write monitor and printer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. An e-publishing software is used to create an e-publishing publication to display a school's yearly magazine. Describe the characteristics of an e-publication. This is more of multimedia chapter, right? So it allows multimedia, right? You can mention it allows multimedia to be embedded, right? Embedded in the pages. You can write that first point, embedded in the pages. Okay. Then you can mention that it allows the auto changes of pages. You can also mention that it is digital, right? It is digital, so can be used in other documents, right? Then you can mention that it's more up to date than physical magazines. Okay, than physical magazines. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 points. You have to score that full 4 marks. You can also mention that that sections can be linked internally or externally. You can mention that the readers can interact with the e-publication, or you can mention that it can be used by many users simultaneously. These are some other points that you can write for 4 marks. Okay, next question. The e-publishing software is subject to software copyright legislation. Give 2 methods that can be used to prevent software copyright legislation being broken. So, you can mention that users type in a unique license. Users type in a unique license key, or using a serial number or an authorization key. The other point is that use of license agreements. Okay, use of license agreements. You can also mention that users can install DRM. These are parts of code which stops a person from copying it. You can also mention that you can run a software with a dongle, a CD or a pen drive attached, or you can get permission from the owner itself. That's some other methods that can be used to prevent software copyright legislation being broken. You can just write these 2 points. Use of license agreements for users type in a unique license key, serial number authorization key, and the use of license agreements. These are some of the 2 points that you can write for 2 marks. I think this is the paper is completed. So if you guys have enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. And do comment below on what your thoughts are about this video. Have you guys enjoyed it? This is mainly just a walkthrough paper video. So I think that's it. All right. Bye, guys.